explique! O sea, a ver, que alguien me explique!
Isaiah chapter 58 and verse 1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins.
O sea, a ver, que alguien me explique!
Copyright disclaimer. This content does not belong to Bible Chronicles or claim this intellectual property. The content provided today has and always will belong to the content owner. Bible Chronicles does not have any affiliation with the owner of this property. As mentioned, Bible Chronicles did not intend to make use of any material for the purpose of harvesting gain. However, Title 17 of United States copyright law states material in use can only be done when it's for theological or general educational purposes, and thus Bible Chronicles believes that this principal material falls under fair use, which honors protection under Section 107 of the same U.S. copyright law.
Viene a decirnos con mucha firmeza y gran convencimiento lo mismo que nos decía en el siglo XVIII el barón de Holbach, ¿no? Un filósofo francés de origen alemán. Si nos remontamos al comienzo, entonces hallaremos que la ignorancia y el temor crearon a los dioses. La fantasía, el entusiasmo o el engaño los adornaron o desfiguraron. La debilidad les rinde culto, la credulidad los conserva, la costumbre los respeta y la tiranía los apoya para que la ceguera de los hombres sirva a sus propios intereses.
The school system at the time did not want our Chicano students to grow or become anything big. No doctors, no professionals, no doctors, no teachers, no nothing like that. I mean, these kids weren't even learning the history of their own people. So these things were starting to get noticed by the youth. And because they noticed that, they started to try to make some changes. And when they brought those changes to the schools, they didn't like that. And so they were starting to punish these students. And that's how the Brown Berets came about. And they came forward to start protecting the kids in school when they were protesting, and also the police brutality out in the streets when they were harassing the Chicanos out there in the street, whether they were young or not. The Brown Berets were there to support that and to protect the raza and the community.
Yeah, we got the numbers, we're gonna fight, so they can't fuck us. We got rights, and we want justice, so we're gonna fight. These young kids in American breadlines, billionaire criminals will never see bedtime. And they don't care who they hurt in the headlines. The fruits of our labor turning into their red wine. And they drunk off power. They begging us to go to war for them. They're cowards. Poverty of work 70 hours. You lost civil rights with the towers. They can deny, they keep lying. They got AI, they keep on spying. They make billions when people die. They gon' fuck around and wake a sleeping giant. It's cash for artillery. They keep troops on a block from Caracas to the Philippines. Fighting back with our neck on the line. We'll be putting their necks in the guillotine. No war but class war. The rich attack poor. What the fuck you stand for? Fight back.
Who do I have the blessing of talking with today?
Yes, I am Comandante Sochi, National Commander of the Brown Beret Organization.
And who's this handsome gentleman right here?
I am Lieutenant Chimali, Brown Beret Organization. I'm a 35-year veteran of the Brown Berets. I joined back in 1992 at the ripe old age of 14. My life was a mess. I was gangbanging on the streets and had just gotten arrested for GTA. And I was grounded, actually. And I was sitting in my house, grounded. And a brother came in wearing this funny looking hat on his head, and they looked like a bean because he didn't wear it right. It's just like this poofy little like football or something. And I was making fun of him, and I've known him since I was like 9 years old. He's a family friend, and he started telling us about the Brown Berets, the history. Started showing us documentaries, and I had never heard of anything like this in my life. I had thought that maybe I was just dark-skinned white person. I don't know. Like I had no idea who I was, my identity, you know, and so learning about Chicanismo, learning about the Brown Berets, he said, do you want to go to a meeting? I said, yes, I want to go. And I don't think he meant it for me. I think he was trying to recruit my brother-in-law, but I was just all into it. I said, I want to do this. And so when we had a meeting with David Rico, who was the commander of the San Diego Brown Berets, that took over Chicano Park, you know, he asked, after 3 hours of talking, he said, who wants to be a Brown Beret? And I was the first one to raise my hand. And after that, it just became a lifelong passion for me.
And who's next to me?
My name is Mia, also go by Space Money News 1. I'm pro-Palestine and fuck ICE all day. I'm primarily with City Heights Defense Committee, and then unofficially with a bunch of pro-Palestine kind of organizations. I also help with court support here in San Diego. And then, yeah, I guess that's it.
And you're my partner in crime. Every time I want to go to a protest, I hit you up so that you can protect me.
If there's tear gas and sound bombs, we're there.
I actually go with her to protest so I can feel safe. Truth be told, you know, a lot of people don't even know that basic info about the Brown Berets. And there's something really special about the Brown Berets that I want to get into a little bit, because it's actually something that had a big influence on me in the past few months since I met y'all. There's been a lot of traumatic events around the world, as we all know. Obviously, one of the biggest ones was the Epstein files coming out, right? Now, I never gave the topic of patriarchy, matriarchy, I never gave it much thought until really like the past few months, where I'm like, holy shit, we're in this whole situation because of patriarchy, right? Mm-hmm. Now, you're a man and you're in the Brown Berets, but the Brown Berets this formation at least, is strictly matriarchal. Okay. And I will just see if you would like to talk about that, Commander, a little bit. And Mia has some questions too for you as well.
Sure. At first it hadn't been meant to be that way. But when my brother, Lieutenant Chimali, came in, we sat down and spoke about how we can make a difference now that he had came back after several years he took a break. And when he came back, I asked him, can you join me and let's make this, formation a better one, I want to make this organization be something different than the rest. And because I had been attacked so much, specifically by men, which to this day I still am, And not just myself, but other women in the movement as well. I've noticed that that's been sort of a pattern of just women in the movement who are constantly being attacked, sexually assaulted, harassed. In any shape, way, or form, women are affected in the movement. And I'm not sure if it's because women are mistakenly or taken for granted, or we're looked upon as like weak because we're women. We can't be looked at as a strong revolutionary individual. They seem to think that, you know, they can treat us different and we're not going to do anything about it. But you know, we're strong women, and especially Chicana women, Indigenous women, we're extremely resilient. Not only because we're women, but we're also mothers. You know, we're life givers. We're the ones who nurture, and we endure so much pain as moms, as sisters, as wives. And so it's always men in power who seem to be the ones who take advantage of our women.
Yeah, and not just women, all of us.
Yeah, so so that's why I wanted to avoid that in this formation.
And in doing so, I think you've carved out a real special, like a really important space. And especially in the other thing you mentioned, the key word is Indigenous. That's the other unique thing about your group, is that you really hone in and focus on Indigenous sovereignty and the Indigenous path of the Brown Beret.
Yes,
you know?
And the reason being is because why we're so deeply rooted in our culture and our Indigenous roots is because in our Mexica culture, which is where the Chicano stems from, the Mexicas actually had a man and a woman in government.
Yep.
And so we wanted to make sure that we had that. However, when we started getting more women that were sticking around, strong women sticking around in our formation, we decided that it was best to make it specifically matriarchal leadership. However, still have our men to back us up, to support us, and also protect us. And so we wanted to have that type of structure and foundation.
I'm going to add a little comedy here. How do you feel about that?
Well, you know, I'm honored to be here.
Yeah. So you're not offended? You don't feel subjugated under women?
No, not at all.
So
you know, so
just checking, because there's a lot of men out there that just they complain about that.
Yeah, but those are insecure. Those are insecure men, maybe with the little man's complex. You know, honestly, like, it takes a real man to be able to humble himself and to seek healing for his life, redeem himself when he's made mistakes, say I'm sorry, and change his ways, and seek good leadership as well. So, you know, I was the national commander before her, and I had been the national commander for about 10 years, and I organized all across the country. I traveled all across the country and established Brown Berets everywhere. I had 1,500 members, and at the time we were like the largest organization of Brown Berets, you know. And but it was all built on ego, the male way of doing things. And the moment that I stepped aside, it was so superficial that it just completely fell apart. And that's the problem. When men organize, we organize in a very superficial way. It may be a mile wide, but it's an inch deep.
Yep.
When women organize, they organize an inch wide and a mile deep.
It's so true.
You know, and it's because they drill in all the way to get to those roots, you know. And so I knew that after me, the next leader needed to be a woman, because I knew that I was so limited, especially the way that the movement had already been going for decades, that a lot of women were rising up, and the Me Too movement was happening, and all these different things were happening. And, you know, I said, no, this whole thing with the patriarchy needs to end. The Brown Berets need to transform into something more. They need to evolve, and a woman needs to take charge. And I had tried to recruit her, and she didn't want to join with me at the time, or she couldn't at the time. But she ended up joining on her own later on, and she rose through leadership, and people recognized her as a leader. And on her own, she did that. She went into that trajectory, and she became the national commander on her own. And so when she asked me to join, I said, hell yeah, I'm ready to organize in a different way, a better way. You know, and it has been great because we have been able to accomplish things that I was never able to accomplish. Honestly, I think she's a much better leader than I ever was. You know, and I'm very honored to be here with her.
Oh yeah, brother. Hey, real man right there. That's from real Vincent. All you.
So kind of going back to what he said about, you know, getting to the roots and stuff. I'm kind of newer to organizations, and, you know, I have noticed that there are some conflicts even with people who've been in organizations for several years. As a commander, as somebody who's been doing this for a long time, what are your expectations? What does your vetting process look like? How do you go about finding somebody who you know in your organization and to be vetted into these spaces? Like, what are your recommendations for organizations?
So how we vet new people coming into this organization, that's your question?
Yes.
Yes. So the way we do that is very, I guess you could say, extensive, and it's pretty hard to get in. It's not an easy organization to sign up for. And we made sure that it was made that way because others are not. It is very easy to get into other organizations, or that I shouldn't say organizations, formations, excuse me. The way we vet is a long process. You have to apply. After you apply, if you pass the application, then we send you an assessment. If you pass the assessment, we still have to screen you via interview, and if you pass that, then you go on to the orientation. And even then, we still have to make sure we keep an eye on you. We don't go throw you in with the rest of them that have been training for months and months and months when you're just barely coming in and you're brand new. You have to kind of earn your way in there. And once you have proven yourself and you've put in the work and we've been able to trust you, then you're in.
And so how do you think it is different, you know, with male leadership versus female leadership as far as conflict resolution? Because I know with a lot of the organizations that I'm with, it's primarily women. Mm-hmm. And there is no lack of conflict, even with, you know, female-dominated organizations. There's still, you know, I guess, talk behind each other's backs. There's differences in opinions. How do you go about, you know, ironing out these conflicts and, you know, creating a situation of either putting somebody out of an organization or creating such a strong structure that it prevents those conflicts in the first place? What's the best conflict resolution that you have recommended for other formations? I think that's
a very good question. Then that's taken quite some time for us to develop a system in our organization to be able to handle conflicts, and we've come a long way, and Chimali can tell you himself, it's been quite the journey, as a matter of fact, and it's a growing journey. We grow in it, and there's always room for growth when it comes to these types of ways of trying to resolve any kind of issues. Always trying to find ways to make sure that we can resolve things. There's always issues. But the key is how to resolve them. And you kind of have to go through levels of like, okay, this isn't so bad. We can handle this. Oh, this one's like, oh, let's talk about this. And then there's the severe ones where we have to, you know, speak to that person directly, meet with them and find out what is the problem. How can we resolve it? If there's no solution, then, you know, then we have to let them go. But if it's minor things that can be fixed, like I said, there's always room for growth. And, you know, you have to be in constant communication. You have to be educating, and mostly lots of patience. And another thing that we have to consider these days, because we have different ages that are coming into this organization, we have to really consider mental health. That is extremely important nowadays, and we have to take that extremely important and not always assume that people are just weird or they're dumb or they're stupid or whatever. We have to consider the fact that people have some mental disorders, mental disabilities, so we have to find ways to be able to work with that. Mm-hmm. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. I know, because I've at the end of the day, like when I have situations with other activists too, like I've learned, we may be activists, we may be participating in helping our communities, but at the end of the day, we're all still people, we're all still human with a variety of temperaments and patience, and so I have to take a step back sometimes and kind of lower my expectations for for certain situations, and
Exactly.
kind of just humanize other people, because we try to be superheroes, but I know I'm not a superhero, that's for sure. And how do you think that now that this society is more matriarchal, or formation is more matriarchal, how do you see that these conflict resolutions and the structure with dealing with the vetting process, how much has it changed, or has it changed a whole lot, do you think?
Well, definitely has changed a lot. We used to just let anybody in. Like, as soon as they said, I want to be a brown beret, swear them in right there at that moment. Here's a beret, go. And that doesn't help. It doesn't work, because you don't know anything about this person, and they could be an informant, an infiltrator, or maybe some person with some emotional or mental health issue. And then they come in and they start trouble within your group. And little by little, they chip away at the strength of your group, and they become the weak link, and eventually the group falls apart. Because they will poison other people around them. And so they never like to just be by themselves. They will take as many people as they can with them. And so it has been a process of setting up accountability processes, right? Making sure that everyone is held accountable. And but even the commander, there are rules, that the commander has to abide by. And she's held accountable. But, she is the leader, but she does have certain rules that she has to follow. We all do. So from the beginning, when they come in, we let them know, this is the line right here. This is the rules. This is what we've got. Don't violate that. And most of them are based upon respect and love. You treat each other with respect and love, and you're going to be okay in here. You start being disrespectful, you start being egotistic or narcissistic or some other thing, where you're not going to do very well in this organization. Because here, everyone is a warrior, everyone is a soldier, we all fight. We all have that level of aggression that we know we can take it to, but we don't, because we want to be in a good place. We're trying to do something good and positive here. And if they don't want to do that, there's the door. It's as simple as that. We're not going to tolerate it. And so our growth, because of it, our growth has been slow but steady, and it's sustainable. Well, instead of just reaching for the stars and grabbing as many people as you can and then just falling on your face. And we've seen a lot of groups do that all over the place. Social media groups, they pop up overnight, and all of a sudden they're here one day, and then the next morning they've got canceled because they did something bad, and you don't know nothing, and what happened. But that whole process of accountability, rules, expectations, making sure that everyone is trained, good education. We're educating people all the time. We're constantly doing study groups, and we're doing trainings. We do boot camps, and we do kind of things like this where we build camaraderie between everybody. And it gets them closer. They all feel like they're part of a family here. And you don't do that to family. You don't screw over your family.
Yeah, and I noticed that, like, you guys are here at a campsite, and you had just mentioned that, hey, we were doing a ceremony. I'm sorry. Like, I love that you took priority for your people. You're like, we have something to do that's very important. My people, my girls are very important. My community. I need you to wait. And I love that. And so, and also, like, teaching your culture and all of your indigenous roots. I think carrying that as, like, Hispanics, as Latinos, like, we lose a lot of that. Like, I've lost a lot of, like, my culture, and I lost a lot of my language. I've lost my language twice, my indigenous language, Spanish language, because of being here in the United States, and also, carrying the matriarchal society and carrying your culture as well. It's a lot to carry for people. So do you think that also teaching that culture, how does that impact the community, and how does that help your organization? Do you think that I think that it's important that you do ceremonies like this for the community, but can you tell me more about why you think it's important and utilizing it for the Brown Berets?
Yeah, so it's important because, for our Chicano community, indigenous communities, it's important to continue our indigenous teachings, to keep our ways alive, through our ancestors. If we don't continue to teach them and have them in place, they're going to get lost. And why do we need to continue it? For our future generations. We teach our kids, and our kids are going to teach theirs, and so forth and so forth. My parents didn't teach me. I had to learn myself. Well, what I can say is my parents did their best to teach me what they knew because of what their parents taught them. Because of colonization, a lot of things were lost. And now I'm the generation that is bringing that back. And so it's almost like we have to relearn everything. You know, we've been detribalized. We've been stripped of everything, our culture, our language, our everything, you know, but somehow we've kept that alive through our food, through even our Spanish. It may be from Spain, but we made it our Spanish into Mexican Spanish, our Chicano Spanish. And so these things, we don't even realize that when we're speaking Spanish, Mexican Spanish, we're actually, a lot of the words are in Nahuatl. We didn't even realize it, right? A lot of our foods are ancestral and they're healing and they're extremely sacred to us. So we don't even realize that. And, you know, my mother, she's a curandera. She passed on those teachings to me. Even though she was highly religious, she still had those teachings of curanderismo, which is indigenous. And so I was able to pick up on that. And so I'm making sure that if my kids are not going to pick up on it, then I'm passing it on to this organization.
You know, they say if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going, right? And so the whole process of decolonization is learning about your past, learning that ancestral knowledge, but also the spirituality, how to put into place. And in a movement like ours, a revolutionary movement, it's not just mental, you know, just learning political theory, but it has to be also spiritual. It has to address the whole person. And who are we as a people, you know? And if we don't know that, then we're never going to liberate ourselves. So the key thing that makes us also very different from other groups and organizations is that we really focus a lot on spirituality, on decolonization, on teaching native languages, and teaching them about their culture and everything, and just giving them all that information so that they can become proud of that, of their ancestry, and that pride turns into action. And it's kind of like Paulo Freire, where he talks about like consciousness, right? And that a person wakes up, and then that when they wake up, they eventually it turns into praxis. They start practicing it. Right, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to wake them up, and it's 500 years of colonization. You have to basically jumpstart them, and hit them with that electrical burst, and get them going, get everything going. And when they start learning about it, something clicks inside of them. They say, "I know this. There's something inside of me that feels this is right.
I recognize this feeling."
Yeah, and they get those goosebumps. They're like, oh, I've been here. Like I know, and it's in their genes. It's in their blood. They listen to the drum beats of the the way, and they're just going, you know, and they're like, I feel this in my heart. I feel it in my soul.
Medicines.
Yeah, it's healing for them, and that's the whole thing, that we are trying to not just liberate our people politically, but also heal our people.
You know, you're bringing up a really good point, because in this current ecosystem of revolutionary discourse like social media, people are talking about revolution seriously now, right? And it's often done from the lens of, say, like European, Marxist, Leninist theory, which is great. It has good analysis of capitalism. But what gets lost in the conversation of academics is the spirituality part of it. The Black Panthers and the Panther Party have we're making it a goal to include the indigenous spirituality, the necessity for land back, the necessity for including the indigenous spirituality in the revolution. Because if it's left out of the conversation, then after the revolution, what's left? Just another industrialized world that's disconnected from nature. So this is why we're trying to be very aggressive in pursuing camaraderie with indigenous revolutionary movements, because that's the whole fucking point. The whole fucking point of revolution is we want to get to that beautiful world on the other side of that mountain of capitalism, and us to be back in touch with nature, us to embrace these beautiful things about spirituality. And we need to obviously put indigenous authority in the driver's seat for that, once we all fight together to get that new world, so I'm glad you brought that up. And that's why personally, me being a student of a Dakota chief, him being like a spiritual teacher of mine, he passed away back in 2020. We had a ceremony together, and I had I don't know, like it's a spiritual baptism where I realized that for the rest of my life I need to fight for Indigenous cause and Indigenous sovereignty. And so meeting the Panthers, it's giving me the opportunity to make those connections. So how do you feel? I want to know how both of y'all feel about what revolution looks like in its whole entirety. Like where we want to be when all of this is done. It might be bloody, it might not be bloody. It might be a soft landing. We don't know. We're in the heat of it right now. But what do we want to see? What's the vision of the Brown Berets for a post-revolutionary world?
Want me to take it? Okay. There is no liberation without self-determination. You know, if we are organizing just to organize another event, another thing, or even if we try to liberate ourselves politically, but we're not ready, we're just going to fall right back into another oligarch taking power, and we're going to fall right into another system of oppression. And this happens so many times. A revolution happens, people eventually get free themselves, but they have no real power to sustain that movement, that liberation, and they just fall right back into slavery. Some other person just takes over. And so for us, we are building power. If you are not organizing to take power, then you're organizing in vain. And we don't want to organize in vain. We want to build power for our people. So all of that takes steps for self-determination, building co-ops, building systems of self-sustainable systems for us, buying back our land if possible, taking back some land and building self-sustainable communities, and continuing to grow in education and political awareness, spirituality, decolonization. And that, for us, we feel that that's going to start that process of liberation, and that one day, if it leads to ARS, the Armed Revolutionary Struggle, then that is what's going to happen. Yep. And if it doesn't, and if it becomes something totally different, who knows? We don't know how it's going to be. But what we do know is that we need to take all those steps. We need to continue putting stepping stones for our people. That if in generations from now, let's say 50 years from now, because it's been 50, almost 60 years, right? Since the Civil Rights Movement, 67. If, how is it that we're 60 years into this movement and we haven't been liberated yet? What happened? So 60 years from now, we want to say, well, we've laid down a lot of stepping stones and our people are already in that path of liberation. So that's our goal. It's always going to be long-term, generational. We organize to the 7th generation. We're thinking 7 generations ahead. What's going to happen to them?
Right? It's a very important number, 7th generation. I was always taught about the 7th generation prophecy, and I believe it. My spirituality is rather mixed, but I believe in Native American prophecies, you know. And
the beautiful thing, though, is that because it is matriarchal, women organize for family. Women organize for community to bring people together. Men organize for power and for ego and narcissism. And when they organize for power, they organize power for their families. We organize power for ourselves, right. And how that can satisfy this little member down here, right? Yeah. But they organize saying, hey, my kids, my grandkids, you know, so they're looking at it at a much greater, much grander scale. And that is why it definitely needs to be matriarchal now.
And being offended at that, it's not really manly. You know, that's what I'm realizing. I'm realizing that the most manliest thing you can do is be like, women needed to be in charge of the community. It's been like that for thousands of years. What we're living in right now in the past few hundred years is not natural.
Exactly.
That's why it feels off. That's why I feel stressed. You feel stressed. She feels stressed. We all are like, what the fuck is this world, this nightmare we're living in? Yeah.
You know, I'm so happy not being the national commander. I'm sorry. It's just, because it's really hard. It is extremely freaking hard. And she goes through so much, you know, the death threats and everything, the constant belittling and attacks, defamation of character and everything that she goes through. And she takes it on the chin like a champ. If it was me, I would have crumbled. I would have crumbled the first time somebody would have said something bad about me. I would have been like, why are you talking bad about me? But she takes it, you know, and she's like, nah, I'm going to keep organizing, because she has something greater that she's organizing for, you know. So, yeah, I definitely am so happy. And, you know, as a man, it actually relieves me of that pressure of having to perform or having to to compete against another man. I can just say, I'm going to just sit here, I'm going to build. Give me the tools so I can build this house, and I will build it for you. You know, and then that woman is going to make it into a home. Then that's what men do. We build the houses, but the women make it into a home.
And she's very wise. Her and Esty, one of the first things, again, I barely know them, but I've been on my, how do I put this? My instincts and my sensitivities to wisdom, I've had to crank it up high, especially in this very precarious stage of revolution. And every day that goes by, I'm realizing how important it is to build your camaraderie with solid people, wise people. And that's why I've been going through a personal transformation in the past few months. It's like, I need to start surrounding myself with safe people, wise people. And it's so important for the safety of everybody. And that's why I gravitated towards her and Esty's group. And it could have been any other Brown Beret formation, but it happened to be Esty. It happened to be Commander. And I'm like lucky for that, because I could have wound up with anything, you know? So I'm just lucky to have met this formation, no matter how small or like, you know, how y'all are building. And it's quality over quantity. That's the important thing.
If I could share a little bit about how I've been able to gain that strength, or that, I don't know how to word it, because you mentioned that you would crumble, but I'm able to take it like a champ, right? Before COVID, I got really sick, and this was before COVID was announced. I thought I was dying, and I truly believed that it was COVID. And you know, I have a pretty high immune system, like, and metabolism, and you name it. Like, I don't know why, but I have this strength. I have high pain tolerance. I have 6 children, and I've lost 6 children, and I have a really high pain tolerance. And I also have, my immune system is so high that it's like, it's so, I don't know, strong that I don't get sick. That was the last time I could remember that I got sick. And I think that the same thing happened when I was extremely attacked in the same year. So emotionally and mentally, I went through some extreme pain as well. That mentally, I wanted to die. I wanted to off myself because of what I was put through as a Brown Beret, because I was being attacked and my name was being dragged through the mud, and I didn't want to live anymore. I had to go on a journey, on a quest for my healing, because I thought of my children. And I think that's when I healed and I developed that strength and that shield. And another thing that I think why I'm able to endure such pain is because my name, you know, that I was given at birth. My name is Xochitecpa, which means blossoming flower. Xochi is flower. Tecpa is a flint knife. So it's not literal. What it means, it's symbolic. It means blossoming words. So it means like my words that come out of my mouth can be so blossoming, but at the same time, they can cut you. Depends on how I'm feeling and what I'm about to tell you. And Teniente Chimali is my best friend, and he can tell you that I'm either going to give you the most loving words, or my words are going to cut you, or they're going to hurt you. I remember choosing a name for my Instagram, and I chose Nishtlamati, Nantli. And that means I am the wise one. I am the wise mother. And because I felt like I was a wise mother, but I felt like I had to, when I chose that name, I didn't think that I was gonna be here, you know, sharing words of wisdom as best as I could. I didn't want to be a national commander. I didn't even want to carry fire. I was put in those positions because I earned my way there, because I feel like cosmically my ancestors put me in that position. They put me in that path. And it hasn't been easy. And if you think about it, like, I didn't ask to be in those positions, but it's been so hard to get there. And so imagine not wanting to be in a position and it's so hard to get that position.
And so what was the role that you said of
Firekeeper.
Firekeeper? Can you tell us about the Firekeeper? And what is that?
Yeah, so the Mexica don't call ourselves firekeepers. I carry fire, but we're called somadoras. And there's a difference between Southern Indigenous people that carry fire. Women don't keep fire. Northern tribes, mostly majority that I know, I can't speak for Northern natives, they are fire keepers. So you do have to earn that. You can't just go and pick up fire and carry it. It is something that it's a huge responsibility, because the minute you pick up the salmario, which is it's a cup, it's grandfather fire, right? It's not something so simple to carry. It puts a weight on us spiritually. We turn on the fire. There's a certain ritual that has to take place when you turn on that fire. It's not just sparking up the fire and that's it. There's a certain way you have to turn it on. You have to turn it on with good intentions, because you're going to be burning medicine. When I say medicines, I mean like copal, cedar, any kind of medicines, indigenous medicines. That is, those intentions have to go in there, or you are going to make everyone sick if you come in a bad way. That's the way that we're taught in our native ways, in our spiritual ways. When we do take those prayers in and they go out to our ancestors, those prayers can be very heavy on us, because that's why we're called, carriers of the fire. And it becomes very heavy on us. We can actually physically feel it. We take in everyone's prayers that are going into that smoke that is going to our ancestors. And so we have to be special people to do that.
And do you think continuing these rituals is what has kept the Brown Berets so tight-knit and so powerful for all of these years?
Absolutely. Well, specifically this organization, yes. Because, like I said in the beginning, we're so deeply rooted into our indigenous culture. And specifically myself being the comandante and being a somadora, those are two huge roles, not only in the movement, but in the culture. Yeah.
Well, speaking of, we're not going to get into the drama, but speaking of differences, there's a lot of Brown Berets formations out there. Yours is special. Yours is has a high bar. It's has a very strict process of getting in. You can't be coming in to fuck around. You're there to be a revolutionary. You're there for indigenous sovereignty. You're there for discipline, education. But a lot of people don't know that. Your average person is not going to know the difference when they see one Brown Beret formation versus another. But it behooves fellow revolutionaries to make some clarity on the difference. And because there are problems in other formations that I've heard, that I personally have heard. This is coming from me, not y'all, so I don't want y'all to take heat. But I've heard a lot of problems with, sexual predators getting into these other formations. It's like McDonald's. There's McDonald's versions out there, commercialized. Hey, put in your application, you're in, and then what happens? You get a coyote in a chicken coop, tearing up everything inside. And that's just how it is, unless you keep that quality, you keep that bar. Correct. So I don't want to put you in a position of getting you to explain why you're better than them, but I do want to address frustrations in a very generic way that you've had with other people who are so loose with how they operate,
So it basically, in so many words, what makes us different or, than others?
I'm trying not to, I'm scooting around the fire.
I think, and then probably just to kind of highlight to make sure that this isn't targeting any specific Brown Berets or anything. Just this, I feel like this is also an issue that kind of happens with other organizations as well that have chapters in different cities. I mean, we see this in various organizations. One chapter is not so great versus the other chapter. So this is not to specify anything specifically about the Brown Berets.
Well, I mean, we have to consider everything we've already covered. I mean, we've talked about how our vetting process. We've talked about how, our we implement and incorporate our culture and history, teachings, training, you name it, like collaborations, the connections and the legacy that we continue to have. We've carried over from our mentors and a lot of our support. A lot of our mentors have legacy. They hold legacy and they've passed on what we call palabra. And I think I can have Teniente Chimali explain the way that the legacy of palabra has been passed on to us, which is very important in this organization and in this movement, because it has to do with, you know, that saying, like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, our start was obviously 1967, and then the history of that. Then the organization disbanded in 1972, and it lay dormant for 20 years. And there's no arguing against it. There were no Brown Berets, no official national organization of Brown Berets for 20 years. There was only one group that maintained themselves as Brown Berets, and that was the San Diego chapter, ran by David Rico. And the reason why was because he had Chicano Park that he had to protect. Every year, he would have to bring all his berets out there and protect the park. And not just during the event, but also throughout the year, because there was always white supremacists trying to attack it. He was organizing in the Chicano Park Steering Committee, him and his family, and all the community that was there. He maintained himself as a Chicano revolutionary organizer, as a Brown Beret the entire time. Never gave up being a Brown Beret. Then in 1992, during the Pete Wilson Proposition 187 thing that was happening, and they were trying to do what Trump was doing, you know, and the community rose up to protest, and that's when he decided we need to bring back the Brown Berets. And so he got a bunch of veterans that he knew that he still worked with, and they formed the national organization all over again. And so that's the second generation of Brown Berets. And that's when I ended up joining. When he formed the national organization, I was like, within a month of that, I also became a Brown Beret. And I was mentored by him, mentored by all these veteranos, the Brown Berets. And everything that I learned from him, I wrote it all down. You know, and one day I said, I want to implement all of this. And I started organizing on my own. To implement everything that I had learned. So I was starting to rise up as a leader, and I formed my own group of Brown Berets with the vision that he had given us, with all the teachings that he had given us. And I went off on my own. And then in 2016 I retired, and 2018 she joined the Brown Berets. 2018 or 2017? 2018. And David Rico passed away in 2021, and by this time she had already received a lot of palabra from a lot of different veteran Brown Berets, people like Gloria Arianes, Carlos Montes, and all these different kinds of people that were just big people in the movement. They knew her, they recognized her, they respected her, and so that's how she ended up becoming the national commander. When that vacuum was left open, there was no more national commander. And so who was going to be the next national commander? And being that I used to be a national commander, I gave palabra to say, you're it. And everything that I had accumulated for those decades of organizing, you know, I have a storage shed that's 2 stories tall. Full of Brown Beret gear, full of Brown Beret materials and, you know, artifacts and everything. I said, it's all yours now. You know, everything that I know, it's all belongs to you. And I give you my esquina, you know, I give you my corner. And now I'm a junior officer. I'm a lower ranking officer with her now. And I serve her, you know, as my national commander.
And so is there a hierarchy between, the Brown Berets, the different chapters? How does that work?
Well, we are a sister organization of the Brown Berets de Aztlán, which is David Rico's original group. We work very well with them. We are allies. And there are other groups that have come around, the autonomous groups. They're independent. They don't have that legacy. They don't have that connection to any of this, what I just told you. They just kind of started up on their own, and they just one day decided I wanted to become a Brown Beret. They clicked on, you know, make me a general, and they just clicked, and now they were instantly a general or a colonel or a mustard, you know, a Colonel Mustard. you know, Colonel Mustard. But you know, they would just be like, they make themselves brown berets overnight, and so for us, they're not real brown berets. If you don't have that legacy, if you don't have those roots that go all the way back, then no. And so that's one thing, the legacy, but also your actions. What are you doing? We are a revolutionary organization. We are building power every single day. We are working towards something. All of our members are active in the community. You cannot be one of our members unless you are active. And if you're not, you are getting out, you're leaving. It is very strict here. And that's what we believe a real brown beret should be. A brown beret is not an activist. A brown beret is a revolutionary organizer. And so if you're not going to be that, then go join one of the, what we call a Timu beret. You know, they're imitation berets, you know,
Cheerleaders.
Cheerleaders, cosplayers, you know, and you can definitely see the difference. When we walk in, you can feel the power behind our footsteps. You can feel our presence. You can see our actions. You can see everything that we bring to the table. They walk in and they're just like, nah. You know, scratching themselves or scratching their butts. They don't know what they're, you know, they don't even know what they're doing, and they don't do nothing when they're there. I know.
Thank you for no. It's okay. Thank you for the history. It's good to piece all this together for the audience because a lot of people don't know. We're gonna shift. I want to shift to something that has popped up recently. We'll talk about. We got to talk about Zionism, Israel, cops, and brown berets. ICE. There's obvious, we know how Israel works, right? They try to co-opt everything. They try to infiltrate everywhere. Gun culture, veteran culture, army culture, art culture, indigenous culture. Yep. All of it. And something came up, with the gentleman that you gave me the name, John Abravanel. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it if you want.
Apparently this man is a former, correctional officer, and we did some digging in about him because he popped out of nowhere with this name Chicano Power all over social media, and turns out that he put a what do you call it, like a patent on it, on the term Chicano Power. Yeah, on the term Chicano Power, so he owns it. Like, you can't own Chicano Power. Like, that's for the people. Like, how dare you? Like, who? Okay. That's what made us say, right. who, red flag, like, who is this man? So we looked into him. And, you know, obviously we vet people deep and we can do background checks. So we sure did. And sure enough, this man was a correctional officer. And he was also, we found out that he is involved in, is it Israel church?
In synagogue. And supporting the IDF.
Yes, and he was
supporting the IDF.
Yeah, so
there you go.
He was doing fundraisers to,
but using our people and owning it.
That's what they do.
It's
but he was doing it quietly, like nobody else knew.
He was very nonchalant. He's started very slowly, very sneaky, very weasel-like, thinking that no one was going to notice. And when he came to us, we're like, no, we exposed them immediately.
Which is why I love y'all, because we don't have the time to do that. We don't know, like, let's face it, us men, you know how we do things. We run and gun it. We don't think about the landmines that are underneath the soil that we can step on. So,
yeah, so we...
matriarchy and power right here.
Needless to say, we put him on blast. Capitana Esti put something together where we reeled him in, and we asked him a series of questions, and he was just going in circles. And not to get too much into it, basically he denied it, but we had all the receipts, all the proof that he was who we said he was, and he denied it. And he continues to operate still. He has grown on social media. All these people are supporting him, even knowing that, you know, he was a correctional officer, that he is a Zionist, he is all these things, you know, capitalizing on our people with the name Chicano Power. And he's using I don't even know how to explain this, but he has bought like all these domains, and he's buying all these like MESHIACHA TV, Brown Beret TV, Danza TV. Like he's
trying to monopolize.
Absolutely.
Which is what they do. This is a pattern. This isn't new. Like, y'all are experiencing it now, which it might be weird, but you know, we've been in the Palestine movement, you know, since, you know, October 7th, 2023. We know this is what they do. They monopolize it because they want to control everything, because they want to control the narrative. They want to be able to turn Chicanos into pro-Israel people against the Palestinians and to support the war with Iran and all kinds of bullshit. Yeah.
Well, it gets better. He actually got together with, he's supporting the supposed only co-founder David Sanchez, which he's one of them.
So how are the Brown Berets, how is your chapter versus other chapters handling this situation with this man? Or is everybody else kind of accepting him and you guys are saying we want no part of this? Or what is everybody's like position on this?
Are you talking about John Abravanel?
Yeah.
Oh, we absolutely do not work with him. I don't know if there's any other chapters or formations out there that are working with him.
But he's buying like Brown Beret domains?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Brown Beret TV.
I know he is working with David Sanchez and his party. But nobody works with David Sanchez.
Got it. And then the other person that you named, I'm sorry, what was...
who did I name? Cesar Chavez?
Yes. So what is the position on that? Because I actually hadn't heard about anybody saying like, oh, they're just demonizing Cesar Chavez. Like, all my algorithm is just very pro Dolores. Like, I hadn't heard about any of that.
There is some support. There is some support for Cesar Chavez and not for Dolores.
In the Brown Berets?
No, and just in the movement.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of the
A lot of the patriarchal kind of men are supporting Chavez and not supporting Dolores. They're saying that she's lying. Maybe she deserved it. That she's taking advantage of the situation to make money or for whatever. But it, whatever the excuse they're making, to me they're just enabling, or they're explaining, or what they call it, apologizing for Chavez, and that's not right. You know, you have to believe the fact that all these women are coming forward and they're saying that that's what he did to them. And when we found out about it, it was, for some of us, it was devastating, because some of us, you know, we grew up as that he was a hero, thinking that way of him. But for the younger generation who had heard other things about him, they said, no, we don't like him at all. So they were like, yeah, we kind of figured that's, you know, something like that would happen. But for the older ones like myself, it was devastating. But obviously my reaction was, screw him. You know, if any person who hurts, you know, women and children, you know, that does that to them, they should not be here. So it doesn't matter. You know, we'll erase his name from history and we will never talk about him again. We will move on and we will build new leaders and we will do something more positive.
Well, I know y'all have a long night ahead of you. I appreciate all your time. How do you feel about this camaraderie with the Panthers? I can only speak for the Panther Party, as there has to be a Black Panther Party member here to speak for them. But I can tell you that from the Panther Party's perspective, and I've, you know, of course the Black Panthers have told me this, we're excited about this. We're excited about this camaraderie. We're excited about this coalition, because we got to roll together. It's the only way. And y'all have taught us so much since we met y'all. You've helped us reflect on our own structure, how we can improve, how we can focus on Indigenous rights, Indigenous sovereignty and matriarchy. You've helped me reflect on myself and how much I realize that I depend on matriarchy when I didn't even realize it. And I'm like, we officially made the People's Corps a matriarchal organization based on your influence, you know, and based on what women have been doing in the People's Corps. It's all been women. And I realized that there's no way men could have done this. It's like, I look at it like, no, we would have fucked this up so long ago. So anyways, thank you for being that influence on us and honing us back into Indigenous sovereignty as much as we can. And I look forward to going through this revolution. Where people in the Raza community want to recruit, where do they go?
So they can go to our website, www.brownberetorganization.com, and there will be many tabs on there. If you want to join us, there is a recruitment tab. There is also a lot of history and education on our organization, and there's also links to all of our zines that we've had since we started them, and you can take a look at them. You can even print them if you want, black and white or color, and the zines are just full of history, education, artwork, poetry, even pictures of all the work that we do.
And then as somebody who, like, if they don't want to, formally join the Brown Berets, but say like, hey, I want to do some events, I want to, teach my children about our history, I want to do some mutual aid, how can other people help support the Brown Berets and be involved, but not, be formally joining?
Yeah, the same thing. It's all going to be on that website. You can email us through our website and let us know how can I be of service or support. We can always use support and volunteers. You don't have to join. You can just show up when we're having an event and help us out when we're having like distributions and whatnot. Sometimes we hold like self-defense classes, and we'll let people know when we have those periodically because they're not scheduled like on a regular basis. Stuff like that, even for kids. Like we have a lot of stuff on the zines. I believe we even have a coloring book that teaches Nahuatl. We're hoping to have other books as well for kids to teach them about our Brown Beret organization and history.
Thank you.
Thank you. The what? The associate program. Oh, that's right. So if you email us, will and say that you want to support, we will add you to our associates program, which you will get like newsletters and like the zine and stuff like that. Yeah.
And of course, anybody in La Raza community that joins the People's Corps, we will introduce them to the internationalist and intercommunal perspective of the People's Corps, and then we will route them. We will ask them, do you want to join the Brown Berets? In which case, if they say yes, we'll say, okay, we're going to route you right to SDN Commander, and we will give them a heads up about the expectations of them, so that you guys, y'all can just,
So they won't be surprised?
Yeah, so they're not surprised, but like it's kind of like when you go to university, you take your gen eds, and then you want to specialize. We prepare them for that specialization. So
what's funny about being surprised is that people apply to join, and they get surprised when they figure out, oh crap, we actually have to do things here. Because they're thinking that it's just being an activist and I'm going to just go and whenever I want. And we're like, no, this is a very structured organization. There are requirements for you. Every single day you have to do check-ins. Every single day we need to know what you're doing and what you're going to be active in. Are you reading? Are you studying? We want to know. And people just to hold themselves accountable, just to do a daily check-in to say good morning, some people find it really hard to do. And they say, that's very limiting for me, that's very constricting, I feel oppressed. Like, just saying good morning, like, come on.
Our society has lost so much community from capitalism, and, that's why I love, what you guys said about, doing the ceremonies, and, I smelled the Palo Santo and the sage at, Chicano Park, and, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it takes me back to, like, what we don't have in our society today. So I want to thank you guys for having an organization that does that. I'm part of City Heights Defense Committee, and what we do at our meetings in the beginning, we have like a meditation kind of like, and we have a wellness group. And so I feel like bringing in that spirituality, it's such a reminder that it doesn't matter what we look like our souls are all connected, and we lose that when we're so fucking focused on chasing money and just trying to survive and feed our children and keep a roof over our heads. So thank you for incorporating that into your community, and it's so necessary. So necessary.
Of course. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Viva La Raza.
Viva La Raza.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine. Free Palestine.
Fuck ICE.
And all power to the people.
All power to the people, yeah. Awesome.
Fuck guys.
Fuck guys, sorry. Yeah. It's what time is it? I needed my Red Bull. Fuck guys.